Searching the internet for answers about health has become second nature. When someone notices a headache, a rash, a strange heartbeat, or a shift in mood, it feels natural to type the symptoms into a search bar and see what might be going on. There is a comforting sense of control in gathering information, and people often feel empowered when they can name a possible cause for what they're experiencing. For mild or familiar issues, this can even be helpful. Basic health education online has pushed many people to pay more attention to their bodies, to track their symptoms more carefully, and to take early steps toward self-care. A person who reads about dehydration, sleep habits, or nutritional deficiencies might make small lifestyle changes that genuinely improve how they feel. Others use online information as a starting point to communicate more confidently with their doctor, knowing how to describe symptoms or recognizing which details matter. In that sense, the internet can serve as a valuable educational tool. But this same accessibility brings hidden risks, and self-diagnosis can become dangerous when people rely on general information instead of professional evaluation. One of the biggest problems is that symptoms are rarely straightforward. The same headache could be caused by tension, sinus irritation, dehydration, vision strain, or something far more serious. Online resources often present long lists of possible conditions without context, and people tend to focus on the most alarming possibilities. A harmless digestive symptom can transform into fears of cancer within minutes, creating a spiral of anxiety that amplifies the original discomfort. This phenomenon, often called cyberchondria, can lead to obsessive checking, compulsive searching, and the psychological trap where anxiety makes physical symptoms worse, which then leads to even more searching. Another major issue is that online descriptions are usually simplified for general audiences, lacking the nuance and clinical judgment that professionals use to differentiate between similar conditions. Someone might read about depression and recognize sadness or fatigue, but overlook key diagnostic criteria that require a trained psychologist or physician to interpret. Similarly, a person researching their symptoms might latch onto the condition that seems most familiar emotionally rather than the one that fits medically. This can lead to adopting labels that are inaccurate or unhelpful. Misdiagnosing oneself with ADHD, anxiety disorders, thyroid problems, or food intolerances has become increasingly common, sometimes resulting in people self-treating with supplements, restrictive diets, or lifestyle changes that do more harm than good. Delaying proper care is another serious risk. When someone feels a sense of clarity from online research, they may believe they have found the correct explanation and stop pursuing professional help altogether. If they conclude their symptoms are minor, they might ignore warning signs that require urgent attention. Conversely, if they misinterpret a mild issue as severe, they may take unnecessary medication, restrict their diet excessively, or live under prolonged emotional distress. Delayed diagnosis is particularly dangerous for conditions that worsen gradually, such as heart problems, autoimmune disorders, neurological issues, or complex hormonal imbalances. By the time the person finally seeks help, the condition may have progressed significantly, limiting treatment options. Another problem is that the internet lacks personalization. Search engines cannot take into account medical history, family background, lifestyle factors, or interactions between multiple symptoms. They cannot assess how symptoms evolve over time, whether they fit a typical pattern, or whether they could be caused by overlapping conditions. A doctor uses training, intuition, and targeted questions to distinguish symptoms that look similar on the surface, but have very different underlying causes. Online symptom lists cannot replicate that process. They tend to present information in isolation, which encourages people to make assumptions without the context needed to interpret what they're reading. Despite these risks, the internet does play a valuable role when used carefully. For many people, online resources are the first step in recognizing that something needs attention. Learning about red flag symptoms or understanding when to seek professional evaluation can prevent serious problems. Online health communities can also offer emotional comfort, connecting people with others who share similar experiences, reducing stigma, and helping them feel less alone. When used as a preliminary tool rather than a final authority, online research can empower people to have more informed conversations with their healthcare providers and advocate for themselves more effectively. The key is approaching online information with caution and awareness. The internet can guide, but it cannot diagnose. It can educate, but it cannot evaluate. It can reassure, but it cannot treat. When people understand these boundaries, they can use online resources responsibly, gathering information without letting it replace the expertise of trained clinicians. The healthiest balance comes from using the internet as a supportive starting point while recognizing that true diagnosis requires a professional who can see the full picture, ask the right questions, interpret patterns, and provide care tailored to each individual's needs.